I've seen my dad die of cancer. Shem is battling cancer. So at the top of my mind, I'm always worried that, is that his fate?
Hi.
Hi.
What's your name?
My name is Alvin Rita.
Alvin. How old are you, Alvin?
How old? 25. I'm 25 years.
25 years old.
Yeah.
So you graduated the other day, right?
Yes, I did. Yeah, such a joyous moment.
What were you doing in school?
I was doing architecture, a degree in architecture.
In JQuat, right?
Yeah,
JQuat. All right. Congratulations on your graduation.
Thank you.
I'm so proud of you, first of all, right?
Yeah.
Because you've graduated in the midst of a very difficult period in your life, right?
Yeah.
Which is why we're here today. I want you to share with us that difficulty you went through while you're finishing school, right? So what have you been up to lately?
So we are currently running a fundraiser for my younger brother. Okay, the one who follows me, we're 3, so he's the second born. He's currently on treatment for Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and needs a stem cell transplant if his current chemo sessions, if he goes into remission, that is.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So tell us more about that. So you've seen Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, right?
Yeah.
That's a form of cancer.
Yes, it is.
Tell us about that.
Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. It's a cancer of the lymphatic system. I guess that's the simplest way I could tell, and probably how it probably could manifest. In the case of Shem, it was a swelling on his neck.
Okay.
Like you just noticed there was a swelling on his neck. That wasn't going away. And then, but even before that, and then it just, then they do lab test to see what it is. So yeah, it's a cancer of the lymphatic system.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So when did this start?
So funny enough.
Wait, first of all, how old is Shem?
Shem just is turning 19 this year.
Right.
Yeah, so he's currently 18 years and some months old.
Oh.
Yeah, he's turning 19 in August, like we're a month away.
Okay.
So I guess how all this started, he had a tooth removed. I guess it's funny, but like he had the tooth removed, and then you see how you're numb, but now we noticed it wasn't getting better. Like after your tooth is removed, it's never such a serious issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get numb, but like by the following day you're okay. So us, like after 3 days, we noticed now the boy's neck is swollen. His face is puffy and all that. So we took him back to the dentist. The dentist prescribes antibiotics. I guess less than 2 days later, he had to be admitted. The swelling really wasn't going away. And then now it was just in the process of now trying to find out what is this, because essentially it really isn't the tooth that is actually bringing this issue. So let's say like for a whole month, he was in hospital and we were trying to find out what was the issue. So essentially the swelling wasn't really going away. We figured it's like maybe the thyroid gland that was swollen. So now we had him transferred to Mata Hospital. I guess this was actually now February. So now February is ending. Around that time.
Okay.
We had him transferred to Mata so that now they do further tests, because essentially where he was before, there wasn't any really like theater or anything of that sort.
Okay.
So when we came to Mata for a whole week as we wait for like lab tests to come back, One night, Shem just stopped, couldn't able to breathe. I remember, I guess the next day we were being called. It was like at 5 a.m. and we were being told to come to hospital. I guess the first thing that rings into your mind at that time is, yeah, he's gone, because
Yeah.
he's been sick for a really long time. So yeah, we find out that he's in ICU. So how, I guess, lab tests come, they initially do the first round to just see what's going on. Then you ask for like the thorough like histology report or something of that sort. So that yet hadn't come out. At that point, we hadn't specified it's cancer and it's which type of cancer. But now you see the fact that he's in ICU, and the thing that is actually causing him not to be able to breathe is the swelling. So now consultants just figured that, yeah, since like they've seen traces of cancer cells in the previous whatever, in the previous test, they start him on chemo. So yeah, while he was in ICU, he had his first chemo. Yeah. And I guess now that period, he's set to do KCSE at the end of the year. So for that whole period, he hasn't yet gone back to school. So now, yeah, it's like where the journey literally started. Okay. So he did 6 cycles of chemo. During all this time, he was being homeschooled, quote unquote, I would say, because with chemo you get really like side effects. Either you have hair loss, lack of appetite, you're really losing weight. It's just not, it's not the ideal point, like situation, and then, so now I guess it's like you have a very fragile immune system, because even when after he was released from hospital, this is about 2 months in, he was also readmitted again before now that cycle of chemo was done. I guess that's also where the point where my mom just decided to quit work and stay at home and take care of her son. I guess in her words, she's like, my son's life is more important than what I'm chasing. And my dad was still with us, so yeah, the financials were working out, I would say. And cancer treatment is expensive, especially because we started in a private hospital. A session would be up to like 100K, 80K, and you're going through like 6 cycles, you find yourself spending over 500,000 shillings. That is plus now the cost of admission in like private hospitals for ICU and all that. You've already incurred, you've maxed out insurance, so now you're actually paying all these off pocket. In August, towards the end of August, the swelling was gone away. He had done 6 chemo sessions. The boy was fine. Like in our heads, we were now done with this. He was now going back for the third term in September, because that's the only period he'd actually been in school for an extended period of time. Because in second time, he went like for 1 week, fell sick, landed in hospital, so it was like, it's not worth the risk. So yeah, third term, he's gone back to school. It's all going well. And then now, funny enough, I get a call from my mom, and my mom says my dad is being taken to Aga Khan Hospital. And I'm like, Tupatane, so she's like, Tupatane Hospitali. I'm like, okay, how? Like, he wasn't sick at all. Like, to begin with, he was very okay. I guess he'd never even, like the one time he's even been admitted was quite a while ago. That was for pneumonia. Otherwise, fit, like perfect.
Okay.
So we go to Aga Khan that night. I guess that was when actually my semester was starting, like the peak of the semester.
You knew which year?
Sixth year. That was like first year. Yeah, first year of sixth year.
Okay.
So, yes. So when we get to hospital, how is it called? He's not really fully aware of where he is himself. His stability is also not okay, and yeah. So now people think, you see this kind of like signs of a stroke and all that. So now you start doing like MRIs and stuff like that. And then we find out he actually has a tumor in his brain. The only way you can diagnose the tumor is like getting a sample and having it removed. And your brain is very fragile. It only accommodates your brain. So when something else is in there, it's like it sparks an imbalance or something. So yeah. So yeah, now we're like, okay, it's like we've started another journey when the other one has just ended. So we do the surgery. We are we're crossing our fingers and hoping for the best. And when the doctors are out, it's like more than a 10-hour surgery. I guess you're seated outside and you're thinking, how did I get here?
Out of the blues.
Yeah, it's nerve-wracking. And you see how doctors operate without giving you really, like they can't tell you 100% your person will come out of that surgery. There are always risks and all that. So it's like a 10-hour nerve-wracking ordeal waiting to see what happens. So after surgery, he's taken to ICU now. And yeah, the doctor is like, from what we have seen in the brain, this actually looks like cancer. And we're like, wow, okay guys. Yeah, that's like, oh my God, like how did we get here in the first place? Because January started out fine, like, yeah, like you're like it's less than 3 months. Actually, Shem had been out of hospital. No, it's literally less than a month because Shem has just finished chemo in August, and now like we're in September.
Of last year?
Yeah, of last year.
2022?
Yeah, 2022.
Okay.
Like, okay, yeah, this feels like you're being jinxed or something. So now, with private hospitals, the costs are like humongous.
Yeah.
So my dad was at ICU in Aga Khan for a few days. By the end, I think of like a week and a half, 2 weeks before now transfer, we had incurred like roughly 3.5 M. So my mom had stopped working. My dad was the sole breadwinner here. We didn't have access to any of his accounts, or rather even he couldn't remember the passwords to his accounts. So it's now just me and my mom trying to figure out how this is working. And then now also his insurance card had also maxed out, like, because essentially we were all under his cover. So, and the financial year has just been renewed. So even when admitting him, you are actually asked, are you conscious of the amount of money in your card? Like, do you know, like this procedure incurs this cost and all that. So yeah, like, so he's out of surgery. He's now in ICU for, I would say like a week. And then he's then transferred to HTU. So now when costs are, when costs are doing that thing where they go up, the hospital is also trying, like the hospital always has, I would say, social workers. They're trying to advise you the best possible thing for this patient at the present, which is transfer him to somewhere where you can actually afford treatment. So now with transfer, you need money. You just can't pick a patient because even the hospital you're being referred to needs a deposit. So yeah, I guess that period is when we actually now launched the first fundraiser I have ever done, apart from community fundraisers. Like you see how for like community projects you'd expect to raise like 80, like the maximum you've ever fundraised is like 80,000. I guess now you're tasked to raising like more than 200K to facilitate transfer and all that. I remember we were standing next to National Oil, Apple Ajip, when the social worker called us and told us Mr. Godfrey Nyaga actually needs to be transferred because the costs here, it doesn't make sense him getting out of the hospital and then you're left with such a huge burden and you still have treatment to go forward. Like the surgery is not the treatment, you needs radiotherapy, chemotherapy and all that. At times we really didn't even used to visit my dad because you're scared you'd meet, like you'd probably come across a social worker and you literally have nothing to say. Like you don't have money, you really don't have money. I guess, now we started a full-blown fundraiser to at least transfer him out. Because now, like Aga Khan was gracious enough to let us transfer him with just us topping up 100K, and now plus his workplace had also topped up like 500K on top of the money that was required. So our balance there was remaining like at 2.8 by the time we were getting him out. So we transfer him to KU Referral Hospital at night because now the process of end. So now we had to do a full-blown fundraiser for like 3 days. This is Alvin's dad, so you're really just working with people who know you and hoping the message spreads out. So now he's admitted at KU Referral. He's admitted at KU Referral. Now we actually now get the full report of what type of cancer this is. So it is GBM. It's one of the rarest cancers actually that exists, and even very little research has been done on it. So now, while he's at KU Referral, at this present time, he's not really gained back his sense of self, I would say. Like you'd ask him a question and he really can't tell you, and he'd also lost mobility on his left side. So now he's fully dependent, like he's now fully dependent on like help, like he can't do anything for himself, I would say. So now this is when, at that time now we had transferred him to KU Referral. Shem had come to see him like once or twice, like outside, like from school. And then that time was staying with my friend and we were called and Shem says the swelling on his neck is back. So we're like, we now take him back to hospital. So now we do tests again and we find out, the cancer, this was in December, towards December. We find out the cancer had now recurred. So it had recurred. So now we have two patients. We now have two patients at home. You have now two patients at home. Shem, that was actually now the week just before KCSE. So Shem actually did his KCSE from home, like commuting from home, because we couldn't risk keeping him in school and then something happens and then you don't know what happens, like you aren't sure what's going to happen. So in January, Shem starts treatment again. My dad had also just started his treatment. So he was doing radiotherapy and chemotherapy also. So my dad stayed at KU referral for 3 whole months. After now the admission, like transfer from Aga Khan. So for those 3 months, he was doing like radiotherapy sessions, and now we were figuring out how chemotherapy would happen outpatient. And now in January, we were now starting the journey of we need to take Shem for clinics, then we need to take now my dad for clinics. Yeah, I would say that. So I guess it's, how do I say, it's hard when you have to take care of somebody who's always been taking care of you.
Yeah.
And then also we hadn't even sorted out the money issue, because now we had to figure out how he's able to change his, he's able to now change when he's able to now change his access for like banks, for us to be able to now take him to hospital and all that. So yeah, now Shem now in January starts, I would say, second line chemo, because the first one is first line chemo, second line chemo. This essentially, that's when Shem's fundraiser really started. He was supposed to go for like 4 sessions of chemotherapy, and then upon remission he gets a stem cell transplant.
Okay.
But the treatment wasn't successful, unfortunately, and I guess that point also my dad's health was really deteriorating, because at some point he'd stopped talking at all. He couldn't talk. We realized when you touch the brain, I don't know, there's something that happened. So now we realized like the fluid in his brain wasn't draining well, so they probably needed to put a shunt to drain it out. So there's so much pressure build up. Yes, the tumor was shrinking, but yeah, everything else was not going well. So yeah, like now, so, and now I guess now one thing is that you never know how your day goes. So like my dad would be okay like from morning, and then at night he's not doing okay, so you have to rush him to the hospital. And now we live sides Mombasa Road, so you have to get all the way here, because he's fully immobile. You now are paying for Uber, you're paying for taxis and all that to make sure he gets to hospital, and you have so many clinics essentially to follow through. So in April, now towards April, my dad's health now, he just got worse. We took him back to hospital. I remember it was on April 3rd. I guess that's the first time I've entered like a hospital boardroom, like proper, where you now are signing documents. The doctor it's on 3rd April. It's way past midnight, because we brought my dad to hospital that night, because from like the previous day he wasn't able to feed well. He wasn't communicating at all. Even like signals, the one where you ask him, are you comfortable? Like, so you expect him to like nod or like wink or something of that sort, because now that's what we resorted to, and he's not talking, he's not taking medication, so he's literally not swallowing anything. So we bring him to the emergency area at KU referral. It was at night, because now we were being called to the boardroom at like past midnight. So they'd done an x-ray. So they thought he had a clot somewhere. That's like the reason he had a clot somewhere. Yeah, so now we enter the boardroom. The doctor is like, now Godfrey Nyaga now already has brain cancer, and now after the x-ray we have done, we found that he has like lung mets, like the cancer is in his lungs. minus what is already happening on top here. So now they tell us, now they ask you, would you wish him to be resuscitated, all those stuff, like now they take you through, like, because they're like, yeah, like when they start telling you that, you just, it's like consciously, you're very optimistic, but like at the back of your mind, you're also very like fully conscious that, yeah, like we're probably towards the end, or what we'd call the end. Because yeah, the doctor is like, he's already receiving like chemo for what is going up here. He's already not like, he can't do anything for himself at present. So yeah, like, yeah, now we are battling with lung cancer now here. So yeah, they tell you, they give you through like all those procedures. Would you want him to taken to ICU and all that? And you see, ICU also has financial repercussions and all that. So yeah, and yeah, they're like, yeah, it's just that point where we need to have this discussion going forward. So on 4th April, after we had visited my dad lunchtime, we had seen him on like during lunch visits. We were seated outside. It was my aunt. It was my two aunts, my mom, Shem, and Sam. Such a coincidence that we had decided to bring Sam along that day because it was a school day.
Sam is your youngest
Yeah,
brother?
my youngest brother. He's in class 8 right now. So yeah, the next day, on Monday after on Monday after that ordeal of the boardroom, we decided, hey, by the way, it's nice that Sam akuje, like, he sees his dad.
Yeah.
We also just didn't know that was the last day he'd actually see his dad alive. That lunchtime on 4th, yeah, it was the last time we saw my dad alive. Yeah. And even then, we didn't get to talk to him. He was unconscious. They were feeding him through a pipe. He was on oxygen. Yeah, like fully unconscious. Like, I guess probably, Ile, you hope that the last words you told him, like, I love you, probably he had. Or maybe he stayed that long just to ensure that you guys saw him. Like, he was just like pushing through.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like 2 hours later we were called in and we were told, yeah, he passed on just a few, like an hour or two after you guys had seen him during lunchtime. I guess that's when like it hits you, like death comes so close. Yeah, like that's the closest I have come to, like I've experienced a death, I would say. Yes. And now, I guess now you're weighing, you're like, wow, okay. And you see Shem is also still on treatment. It's not like life paused, we are still continuing with that. So you now have to start planning for a funeral. And you still have to make sure, like now Shem had a PET scan to go for now this second line chemotherapy way later. So yeah, like it's me, Shem, and now my cousin shopping for a casket. I can only imagine what is going through Shem's mind, I would say, because in my mind I'm like, I guess it's not the best position for you to be in treatment for the same sickness your father has died of, and yeah, you're hoping that you are going to come out on the other side safe. So yeah, we buried my dad, I guess a week or two, a week later. We buried my dad a week later. We didn't even stay that long as in, you don't even have time to process that, oh my God, you've lost somebody. Yeah. Shem had a clinic. We buried my dad on a Friday. Shem had a clinic on Monday. And with public hospitals, you have to wake up at the crack of dawn to make sure you are there at like wa kwanza. You don't want to come late. It's like you come early, and by early I mean like as early as 5, even 4. For a PET scan, people get there like by 3:30, 4. Like, yeah.
In the morning.
In the morning, and like the PET scan would probably start at 8. So we were traveling back from Meru on Sunday. So yeah, the PET scan is out. Yeah, that's when like we were told Shem's second line chemo had not worked for him. So yeah, now we start. When you have done like when you're approaching your third line chemo, because that's what he's getting to, it's serious because essentially the first 2 forms of treatment should work. Okay, not should work, but they're supposed to work in, I would say, in medical terms. So why is it not doing so? So yeah, they deliberated, and Shem is now just starting third line chemo. And I think before that, I would now say he's been admitted like for a month before this. He had a few complications. Before now even this decision was reached. He had, with chemotherapy, they're toxic drugs, so they affect your body.
Yeah.
So at some point his kidneys weren't working well, so he had to get dialysis done, and then he also had to start treatment for like a brain lesion, I would say. So it's like the cancer had now entered the CNS, the central nervous system. That's like your brain, and that's the worst thing you'd probably think would happen, because it's like a cyclic pattern. We're back to where we were. He's not doing well. Like, he responded well to that treatment for that. But yeah, now he's starting third line chemotherapy. Third line chemotherapy, the drugs are expensive. Let's start from there. We are doing two cycles of chemotherapy. The other treatments were like affordable, but when I say it's expensive, it's to the tunes of a session of just medication is like 400,000 for one cycle.
And how often were the cycles?
So we are tentatively going to do 2 cycles of chemo for this specific third line chemotherapy, and now assess if it's working. The drugs are expensive. A cycle will cost 400K, roughly there. That is minus admission costs, anything on top. Like, that's you just buying the medicine. Then you have to bring him for admission. You haven't started factoring in admission, or if he gets any complications, that's on top of that.
Okay, and up to this point, do you have any pending bills from like your dad?
So we had, with my dad's pending bills with my dad. I guess with fundraisers and just now, like, you now start offsetting stuff, we are able to, pay off that, what was remaining from my dad's end, I would say. And then by then we'd also had access to part of his, his bank accounts.
Okay.
So, like, most of that money was used to pay for his treatment and Shem's treatment at that point. During the fundraiser, we were able to fundraise more than 300K. So that was able to, like, get him out of hospital and also take care of him when he was in KU for like the 3 months. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, so now, yeah, I guess now it's there. Here we are at a point where all this time we have been paying for Shem's treatment of pocket. Of course, there are NHIF subsidies, but in this specific line of treatment, first NHIF gives like I think a maximum of 100K for like chemotherapy drugs. So now out of that like 400K or something we're going, NHIF would probably give us 100, and that is if you have been consistently at paying your NHIF like monthly and you haven't maxed it out and all that stuff. So we're topping up like 300K for each cycle. Yes, and we are now hoping that this is a treatment that gets him to remission. I guess, yeah.
That was difficult. And you're still in school this whole time.
So now, going back. Towards now, I was supposed to like finish school in December 2022. I wasn't able to pin up, like present my project then. I guess life just lifed, and I had to push forward my marking to February. So yeah, I pinned up a month or two later, like February, for me to be able to now graduate. Is it to graduate? Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So
now up to this point where now Shem is doing these cycles. Do you happen to have an estimate of like how much money you've spent in total on your dad and Shem up to this point?
Okay. I would actually say it goes to the tunes of you'd go to probably over 5M or even 6M, I would say. Because now, how is it called? We had because now if we actually now factor in plus Shem's treatment from like February last year, you've definitely like crossed the 5M, 6M mark. Yeah, essentially.
This must have been difficult.
This is like off pocket. Now probably utoe like insurance like an M. Like it really, the rest is just, you.
So insurance is not really...
No, we're not under any insurance at all. Because now, by the time now we're discharging my dad, we had maxed out insurance completely. So we are now doing off-pocket payments
So NHIF kicked in for Shem much later, the subsidies, that is.
Yeah, and then I guess I think now when we are at, how is it called? I didn't, so now is when, in January now when Shem had started treatment, is when we kind of actually realized how like important, I would say, NHIF is. Because like, for chemo drugs here, in like particular referral, you top up quite less, like not that you top up quite less as long as your treatment is not over 100K. So probably NHIF sends an authorization of a certain amount, but you still have to top up at some point, and at times they actually pay for all of it. Okay. But like you're paying for labs off pocket, you're paying for any medication he needs off pocket, you are paying for clinics off pocket, and he's been admitted more than twice during this whole period. So minus bed, which NHIF will pay for, and what? Minus bed, which NHIF will pay for, and chemotherapy drugs. You are now paying the rest fully from your pocket. Yeah.
Okay. So now currently, how is Shem doing?
Currently Shem is doing okay. Like he's weathered a kidney dialysis storm, he's weathered a brain met storm, like he's gone through all that. Now we're now starting third line chemo. So he's doing pretty okay. Of course, like lost weight and all that, but he's now way better.
So now at this point, how much money are you trying to raise for Shem's remaining treatment?
So, but we are fundraising for 4.5 M. That's for just the stem cell transplant.
Okay.
Yeah. Where that's the money we are essentially looking for.
Okay. So now, where would you like, if anyone wants to assist with this fundraising, where would you like them to send the money?
So we have a pay bill. Pay bill 828350. It reads Shem Nyaga's medical appeal. On the account number, you just write your name.
Okay.
You just write your name and then the amount you are donating, and then you send it. So the pay bill reads Shem Nyaga's medical appeal. It's 828350.
Okay. So this is Safaricom, yes?
Yeah, that's Safaricom.
Okay. So now, with all this going on, like I'd like to know a few things. So like, what right now, as Shem is going through all this treatment, what are some of your biggest fears?
I guess at the top most, of course, you're always wondering if he's going to make it. Like, is he going to make it? I've seen my dad die of cancer. Shem is battling cancer. So at the top of my mind, I'm always worried that, is that his fate? I'm also worried, I guess I am also just worried about him. Like, the treatment takes a toll on you, I would say. Like, he's been in hospital so long, so many times, it's the norm. We go through KU referral. I now probably get greeted by like all soldiers. I know quite a few doctors, nurses by name. Like, somebody literally refers to me as Shem, because I'm always taking him to hospital. There's just a hospital setting just drains you, and especially like you're visiting him, because most of the times he's been at hospital, it's been on admission. The environment is just, I don't know, it freaks you out. You now constantly live with the thought of death like at your fingertips. It's always, whether you like it or not, as much as you try to be highly, like, very optimistic, it's always something that you constantly battle with. And I am worried that, I'm definitely worried if we are going further than this. Like, I'm anticipating this is like the last, treatment won't stop, but I'm anticipating this is where we get the green flag. He goes into remission, and we are able to get him the stem cell transplant and all that. Like, will that work out? And generally, how is life going to continue forwards? Like,
So the money you're trying to raise is for the stem cell transplant?
Yeah.
Okay. So now, like, in the midst of all this, since it started, what has kept you going?
What has kept me going? What has kept me going? The fact that Shem has been fighting, like, literally fighting. Anyone who's come to visit him in hospital has had only good things to say. I guess he's kept such a good spirit. Like, he's been graceful all through. I guess that's also something I am learning from him. he's never really complained. Yes, of course he'd say, I'm tired of hospital and all that, but yeah, like he's not whining about it, first and foremost. He's in good spirits. Shem, you'd find like a few of my friends visited him like during like a dialysis session. At that time, his vision was also just pathetic, I would say, because of the brain mets. And yeah, he's making them laugh and all that. And you're like, yeah, we should be doing the opposite. So yeah, the fact that he's kept a good spirit all through. I also, it's someone I love him so much, so I definitely want him to make it through. And I guess also, you also want to do, I also live by the premise that I don't want to regret anything at the end of it all. So I need to do everything I can, like, is it beg? I will beg. Like, is it, I don't know, cross a river, mountain, all that, I'm willing to do that because I love him and because, yeah, you want to do everything possible to make sure that he gets the best treatment possible. And I guess also support from friends. This fundraiser all these two fundraisers have been possible because the people who have stuck behind me. And even minus just the online fundraisers, we've done an online auction, we've done a camp. Yeah, we've done several things before this just to raise money. Like there are people behind us constantly. Yeah, that helps a lot. Yeah.
Okay. So, what would you say are some of the lessons you've picked up from this whole experience?
I guess why you have to advocate for your treatment, and yeah, how do I put it? Like, especially I would say, when you are in a public hospital, you need to be conscious of your treatment. You need to know how your treatment is progressing. Like, you have to be fully conscious of what needs to get done so that you keep up. Unlike a private hospital where they'll probably keep following up on you and all that, in a public hospital, KU is doing really well, I would actually say. Like, KU referral is doing very well, I'd actually say, in that department. But as a patient, you need to be, and a caregiver, you need to be conscious about the treatment you're getting. You also need to research, because, yeah, like, you need to research all through. And also, I would term myself as an accountant, because when dealing with a chronic illness, you need to be fully conscious of your financials. Like, you don't waste money. Money goes where it's supposed to go. You don't pay for, how do I say, like, you don't pay for things you don't necessarily need. Yeah, and then also you learn how to live as a day at a time, like, because it's hard to think like a week ahead, a month ahead, when you have hospital to go to. So you need to find a sense of, is it joy or happiness internally every day or something of that sort, and remain optimistic that everything will work out. And somehow continue with your life even if your life has stopped, essentially.
Okay. So in all of this, my hope is that everything goes well, and I would like to reach out to people who have watched this, who have listened to your story, and I'd just like to appeal to anyone out there who has something you'd wish to give, you wish to contribute to this fundraiser. She has said the paybill number is 8280-350 Safaricom. It reads,
yes, Shem Nyaga's medical appeal.
Yes, if you have anything, 100 bob, 200, 500, whatever you have, just please send it to that paybill number. It will go a long way. It will help alleviate this burden for this family, because we've been there all through, and they have gone through a lot. So whatever your contribution may be, please just come through for them, because again, these things you never know, they might happen to anyone. These guys are very young, you can see, right? So she said she's 25 years old, the brother is 18 years old, and there's this notion that some of these diseases can only come for older people, but you can see that is not the case. It can definitely land anywhere. So please just help. You never know what you're going to do for them. So yeah, Alvin, I hope Shem's journey is going to lead to a complete recovery, and yeah, we are definitely going to see that we do as much as we can to help with that. Yes, is there anything you'd like to share?
A parting shot, I guess, a parting shot. I'm so sure we're not probably the only ones in this journey. I guess when you enter a hospital, and especially when you get to the cancer center side of a hospital, you realize, yeah, you're not the only one going through it. So I'm hoping that, yeah, somebody out there probably feels encouraged by all this. Yeah, and now just reaching out to everyone to be more empathetic, more compassionate, and all that. Like in all situations, like you never know what the next person is actually going through. Yeah, and we've truly, I guess this whole thing has also shown me what it means to have a community behind you. So yeah, keep your friends close, do all that stuff, like to ensure that, yeah, you actually have a community going, and also, yeah, always lend a helping hand whenever you can. Like it really, 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 and like I mean really goes a long way to, yeah, to just helping. Yeah, just knowing someone is behind you helps a lot. Yeah.
Right, so thank you so much for your time. Again, the paybill number is 828350. Anything you have, please send. For those people who are not in Kenya, those people who are abroad, we are going to share more information for this is a GoFundMe, right?
Yeah, this is a GoFundMe.
We're going to share a link down below, so please just follow up, read the description, you'll see some information there. If you're on other networks and you'd still like to pay, we're going to provide more information in the description. So thank you so much, and God bless you.